God of War franchise has always been a good to great franchise. When you look at the reviews from publications, it always ranges between the 8s and the 9s, or in the 80s and the 90s. But when the new God of War came out, I noticed the reviews were across the board 10s. I was not expecting this. I was expecting this God of War to be on the higher side when I was looking at the reviews, but I did not expect the 10s that it got. And after playing this game, I truly do believe that the 10s were absolutely deserved. If I could sum up this game in one word, that word would be phenomenal. Welcome to my review of God of War. For all my reviews, especially this one, they will be spoiler free. And not to worry about those that want to talk spoilers. I'm so excited to talk spoilers. There is going to be an accompanying video to this one called Spoiler Talk, and you can look forward to that one tomorrow. So I'm super excited to talk about spoilers with you guys. But when we get to that, nothing's off limits when it comes to the spoiler talk. We're going to talk about everything and anything in this game because there is just so much. Like, my notes for the spoiler talk are huge in this game. So I'm super pumped to talk about it with you guys. Now, I just will mention that in my reviews I usually like to take images of the gameplay and pop it in to help reinforce and help express even more of what I'm trying to talk about when I talk about games. But because God of War is such the moments, they need to be experienced to really truly appreciate the game for what it's worth. I will not be posting images of the game. I will be posting only images of what has already been released. That is in regards to trailers that Sony has released. I will only be posting that thing specifically. So the UI on it is out of date. I already know this. I'm only doing this because most people have seen this content, and yet it still can help kind of show what I'm trying to express without spoiling anything. Because, man, I mean, literally in my notes, there is a section about memorable moments, and this game has constant memorable moments that I couldn't do it justice by showing gameplay to you. This was the only way I felt I could express while leaving it spoiler free for you, because, my lordy, this game, holy cow. But anyways, this game, and it's always been confusing for where people thinking where this game takes place. This game takes place after the events of God of War 1 through 3, and obviously Ascension is the prequel. But the fact that this game is actually a sequel to those games, but yet just a reimagining of the next generation of God of War. So it takes place after the main games, and Kratos and his son Atreus are on a mission to fulfill their Atreus' mother's wishes, and that is to spread her ashes on the tallest peak in the land, so that they can the tallest peak in the land where you get to overview everything. And so it's a very simple premise, but that is their goal, and they really work to get there. And there's things that happen along the way, obviously. But really, the game is all about the relationship between Atreus and Kratos. And I think this is the best relationship with being a father and son that I've ever experienced in video games. And it's pretty close to media in general of the experience between these two. The amount of hours that you put in this game really, truly, you get to see the relationship grow. You really get to see it grow to where at the end you see the relationship where it is, and you believe it and you understand it because you have experienced 30 hours of this growing relationship that truly feels like it was an actual real relationship growing and how I could express this even more is an example is at the end of each fight, not every fight, but some fights, Atreus will ask Kratos, how did I do? And Kratos in the beginning, as the person that he is to try to make his son better, is saying, you did adequate. But then as you get further in the game, the dialogue changes to where he says you're getting better. And just the fact of the other the other parts of what's going on in this game with the relationship between Kratos and Atreus, that small moment means so much in the progress of their relationship as father and son. It's just truly amazing to spectacle and watch and play and interact and feel. There's so many emotions in this game. And I mean, not only with the relationship between father and son and Kratos, the supporting characters are so well realized in that it truly made me feel as if any character they were going to put in this game, they said they had to have character development. They had to have a story to tell. They had to contribute to the theme of what this game is. And putting those elements together just made this game so much better. It's so good. And so they really push the message and help to either push the message of the story or help teach them a lesson. Help teach Atreus a message of what's important in life. Or just there's so much stuff. Now I will say you don't have to play the past games to understand what's happening. Or even you can understand what the story is from the beginning games to understand what is going on. But I have to tell you, please, when you go into this, I really encourage you to at least check out the content from the past games and the themes from the last games, because even though I think they still would make just a big impact, they still make their mark when they have these moments, they are just so much stronger that because they're grasping themes and grasping his past, that it is just so impressive when the moments happen, that I really encourage you to check out the first couple games, or even just watch the story cinemas and understand what Kratos has done, because that is such a theme for this game of I am better. I want my son to be better than what I was, and to understand what kind of person Kratos was in the past just makes it even stronger than what it was before. And I'll mention this point again probably because it's so important, is that this game truly would not have happened, could not have happened with another character. Kratos was the perfect character for this story. He was the perfect character to put in the situation, that it just worked so well. So well. I played all the games and I have enjoyed the games. I don't think they're life-changing games. I think they're great action games. But this just made everything that I have worked with in the past games so worth it in the end. Holy cow. Now, the revolution, there's so much in this game that is, I would say, revolutionary. But one of the things that made this game stand out, which I think it really shows what games can only do that other mediums cannot touch. I think movies could do this, but it has to be an entirely CGI movie to be able to do it with only voice actors and only voice acting and no motion capturing, that kind of stuff. Is that the entire game is played out in one entire cut with the camera. And I know people, if you watch many reviews, which I encourage you always do, they have mentioned this galore. But I think the fact that it's one continuous shot does so much for this game. It doesn't matter. It doesn't cut. It never cuts. Even when you think it's gonna cut, it's not gonna cut. And because it does that, it allows you to see interesting angles. And it introduces, and you just notice it. And by the end of the game, when you I'm not done with it all the way. I still have a lot of fun stuff to do, but I've done everything practically. And just the angles that it shows you, it just is so interesting, and it's so hypnotizing that I cannot wait to see other games try to do this, because I don't know, I haven't played a game since yet that does cuts that's cinematic. I'm really interested to see how I'll feel going into another game where I see not one continuous cut, because the angles and the way they use the camera was so interesting. The other part is that it really brought you closer to the characters, because the camera was constantly following you, or zooming, or if you, for example, if you fell or something, the camera would see you fall, but then it would zoom down to you, and it just made you feel how big everything is, and it made you feel how small you are. And I think that was something that they really wanted to express, of how the scale was in this game. But truly, I think the camera is so revolutionary. I would love to see them keep going with this. And I've watched so many interviews that was probably one of the most difficult things they could have ever done in the game. But I think it worked so well. Hats off to Sony Santa Monica. That was excellent. Now, the final thing that really drives the narrative, and it is just this amazing score by Bear McCreary. And the score, so well done. It emphasizes and drives certain moments that even the moments by themselves in pure silence would be so epic, that the music just embellishes it even more, to the point where I could tell when I enjoyed the score. I love orchestrated music, love that kind of stuff. So I actually listened to the soundtrack post playing this game. And the fact that I could point out every single moment I felt when I heard this music just proved of how much the music had just as much of an impact on my experience compared to other stuff in the game. And just remembering is so awesome. And then one of the things that the game was the most interesting aspects was its sense of exploration and discovery. Now, when you play games like this, usually it's very linear. Surprisingly enough, the game opens up a bit after about a couple 3 to 4 hours. And so based on how the map is set up, it's so interesting, because there's basically places covered with fog, and it's up to you to go see if that is actually explorable. And in those exploring those areas, you open up that map. But the most important thing I think that was so amazing about it was that the map was not as detailed, and that was purposeful, because when you go to those areas, the sense of discovery that you could find entirely huge new levels by just sense of just going out and figuring out what is around you. So amazing. And the fact that Atreus as a character is kind of allowing you to understand, yet contextually in the story as a character it works, of saying, let's go explore, or we can go explore if you want. Only if you want to, though, because he knows that his dad is going to make the call. Kratos is going to make the call in the end. And yet, I found it all so fun that Kratos was justifying the exploration by saying, Atreus is thinking we're doing it because we're good people, but Kratos says, no, we're getting resources for this mission. This is a good lesson you can learn by doing this task, or this, and that I just... gaming with a purpose. I like everything you've done in this game had a purpose, and even the side missions had such a purpose that everything always contributed to the main theme. Not just the characters and the story, the actual side missions and the stories that you are learning in these side missions all contribute to the theme of what it takes to be a good person. Family, father and son, parents. It just all contribute to this constant theme that is going, that it grips you. And the fact that I felt more attached to a side mission, just as I felt not more, but I felt just as attached to a side mission than I did a regular mission, really shows of how emphasized they made these side missions. That each of these may feel like, oh, this is another fetch quest. But over in the story, when talking to each of the characters during the side quests, the theme that came into play, and then Kratos and Atreus would have a conversation about it, and to understand why is it important, and the fact that you could always justify why it was important was so amazing. Oh, so good. It truly, the moments made me want to go do them more, and the fact that I wanted to go do more side missions was so impressive. And I obviously I did a lot of the side missions before I finished the game. And even when you finish the game, there is more that unlocks for you to enjoy that is just as memorable and just as pushing and thrilling, to make you want to complete it. Now, all this narrative, all this theme, all this exploration, now let's get to the combat. The axe with Kratos is simply a great weapon. It's a simple weapon, but yet can be as complex as you want it to be. And because of the strategy that becomes around when it comes to the axe is probably the most satisfying weapon I've ever used in games. And it's because of the satisfaction of calling your axe back. And people have said it, and I'm gonna break down why I love it, because there's two elements to it. I guess there's three elements: the weight of the axe and the way it moves on the screen, correlated with the sound that the axe is making with the throw. But the final touch that brings you into the element even more is the fact of the vibration of your controller. I think the vibration of the controller is so impressive that when you throw the axe, you feel a slight vibration as it's leaving you. But when it comes to you, just feel this giant vibration in your hands for the axe getting in your hands, and it feels like you actually gripped the axe. It breaks barriers, and it's just so impressive. Even during combat, you can feel it. You feel the power of Kratos, and it's just so satisfying. Obviously, you can customize Kratos, which is really different than the last games, which is kind of fun. Picking out your own armor, and you kind of have a Sophie's choice where you would like this armor because it looks good, but you want the abilities that come with this armor. And the fact that you can constantly customize things and adding things to your armor to improve certain stats, adding things to your axe to improve certain stats, that it really makes you choose the way you want to play combat. And there's not only one way to win a battle, which is super great. I like that. I always like the openness it offers you. And you do have to have some strategy, though. I will say the strategy, you do have to have strategy to take out opponents in this game, and that you can't play it like a normal God of War game where you're just going to go hack away. And I think the clever part is they teach you so early in this game of you can't do that. And I think that's a testament to not to the game designers, because doing that makes you rethink that this is a different experience. This is a different kind of game. I need to think about this differently because I am losing a lot if you're taking it the regular God of War way. Now, for some crazy way, I don't know how, and I mean I think I know how, but I don't know for sure. Is this game feels so much like past God of War games, yet feels so fresh that it truly feels like it's an evolution of what it came before, and that it doesn't lose its identity. And like I've said before in a comment, and I said I was going to say it again, this game could not be called God of War and not feel this way. Kratos had to be the character. God of War had to be the franchise for this game. There's no way you could replace Kratos and have the same impacts. There's no way. Not at all. Even if God of War didn't exist, it would not worked. Really wouldn't. Now, when looking at the current, the content that you released in this game, you would think that they pulled back in regards to scale, the size of enemies, but I'm telling you, it is further from the truth. And the reason why I'm not showing you is because it's spoilers. So know that there is still that epic scale of the world, the beasts you fight. There are truly moments that are just so powerful because of just the size of these opponents. It's so excellent to watch. And man, this game is gorgeous. Easily one of the best looking games on the market right now in regards to console. It just looks so good. And games has impressed me so much throughout the years of just seeing how people create this beautiful art that we see before us. Everything in the game is handmade by somebody or computer made by somebody. And the fact that it's human made and we get to enjoy the beauty is so impressive beyond belief. Now, you can tell love, sweat, tears went into this game because the lore is so well realized. Details are so important in this game. There's constant ways of how you learn about the world, and it's so impressive that you want to learn about the world. And that's what one of the most endearing parts about this game is that I constantly wanted to keep learning more about what's going on in this lore, because I know Norse mythology pretty well, but I don't know it amazingly well. And the fact of how they realize these characters are so great, and how they realize the story about these characters. When you meet a character, and someone might have more insight about the story of how they have potentially fell from grace. And hearing that story makes you learn more about that character without them being in that space. And then you understand that character more when you go see them next, and you go, I understand your feelings. I understand the tragedy you felt. It's just so impressive. So impressive. And man, everything in this game just serves a greater purpose. And I've listened to so many interviews with Cory Barlog, the director of God of War, and he has said it's purposeful because they're setting up things for the future. And yet when they set up these things, they're so minimal that it doesn't hold back from the great story that they're telling right now. It's just little nuggets that they're telling you of things that might be significant when time comes in the future. That when you go and look back at the first of this God of War, you go, oh my God, I finally understand the reference. I finally understand why they mentioned this to me, of something as simple as between realms, time is different. Somehow that is going to be not, I don't know if it's how significant, but he just said that is intentional, because something they have planned further on has to do with that. So just those little nuggets, and it's just something that they tell you, they just mention while you're exploring the world. It's not a key story point and where you're like, oh my God, they never answered that question. It's like, no, it's just something they mentioned to give you more lore about the world and understand how the rules of this world works and the rules of this Norse lore. Just so impressive. So impressive. Like I said, gaming with a purpose. Literally, if I can break down this in a sentence, this game is gaming with a purpose, and it's so great. So great. Now, there are so many memorable moments in this game. I mentioned that really early, and they had me shocked. They had me awed. They had me sad. They had me amazed. And I think the very enduring part about this game is that there are going to be memorable moments that are different for each person. And the fact that some of these memorable moments could just be a line someone spoke. It's not an entire epic scene that's going to make the impact. Like they do make their impacts. But the fact that a line could make as much of an impact as an entire fleshed out cutscene is just so great. And this is why people need to stay away from this game if they want to play this game. Go play the game, because just little nuggets, it ruins the moment for you. And you need to experience this all the way through to fully understand what is going on. Now, with all the enemies, with all these elements, and the spectacular artistry that is before us, and people have been talking and saying, like, is this in the conversation for game of the generation? I think it should be in the conversation. After assessing of how this game, I easily think it could go down as the best game for the PS4 so far. But at the moment, I think it definitely deserves to be in a conversation about game of the generation, because I think they've done so much stuff that, like I said, gaming with a purpose. I think I've never experienced so much gaming with a purpose before. And truly, it worked so well. And it made me feel so attached. I overall, like, you must buy this game. I literally tell you, go buy this game. If you own a PS4 at all whatsoever, and you're not just an only multiplayer person, or if you want to try and understand why single player games are so impactful, go pick up this game. Go get it, because you're gonna enjoy it. It's not overhyped. It's special. It truly is special. And at the end of it, I wanted my hands on what they're going to do next, because not because I was unsatisfied. It was because I was so satisfied. I want more from this team, and I'm so sad that I have to wait for it. But I truly think what they told as a story, and I have plenty of game to go play left. Like, there's plenty to do post game that still has little nuggets as you figure out while you play the game. But I love this new mythos and what's in store for this new God of War. I'm just so impressed. And again, I think this is not overhyped. This is probably one of the best games in a long time. And I personally do not remember of a moment where I felt so excited to talk about games. I felt so giddy after this game. I felt so giddy. I wanted to talk to people. I wanted to scream to the rooftops to people about this game, but unfortunately I can't, because I don't want to spoil it, because I want people to feel that moment too. But I just don't remember a moment where I felt like that, and the fact that this game could do it for me truly shows how remarkable this game is. And hats off to Sony Santa Monica and Cory Barlog. They have made an impressive game. And if I'm Sony, I give them everything, because this team has made an impressive game, and I would let them have any resource to make the next game. So that is my review for God of War. What do you think about the game? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends. And if you want to keep all the content I release each and every week here on Freeze Frame Rate, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Now, look forward most definitely to my spoiler talk for God of War, which will be out tomorrow. Please check it out. It's so exciting. I love to have a conversation down below. Obviously, leave them spoiler free in this video if you are going to have comments below. But if you want to talk about spoilers like I do so much, like I said, my notes are insane for the spoiler talk. Please look forward to that and leave the comments below, because I'd love to have the conversation about this game with you guys. Again, no spoilers. All right. My name is Mitch. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm saying see you soon.